Hello, welcome back to Nezzo's Bad Shop on YouTube. I am Nezzo, your host, who is here late night doing another video for y'all on the tube ski. Yes, and here we are with a constructor's digest of the Eurofighter D1 conversion kit for the D5. So, first things first, I misinterpreted this conversion kit in terms of like the purpose and the means of why you would upgrade your D5 with such a kit. This car that I have here, started life as a mid-motor D5, a regular mid-motor D5, and I got the mid-motored version of the kit. See, mid-motor for mid-motor of the Eurofighter. And my impression was that you would just be converting your standard mid-motor D5 into the Eurofighter D5 version. They have, or Eurofighter D1 version of the D5. They have conversion kits for a couple cars, the GRK, the YD2, and the D5. There's two versions, the rear motored and the mid motor. So I got the mid motor because I wanted to try the mid motor one. And the rear motor D5x3 racing has been discontinued for a little while now, I think. So to me, there wasn't any point in doing that. But I misinterpreted the style for this kit. So this kit, I couldn't figure out why in the photos on the website I kept seeing the IFS suspension in the front end of the car, even though it was for the mid-motor. So what I came to realize is the Eurofighter D5 mid-motor conversion kit is to bring, really, it's to bring your rear-wheel drive, or rear motor D5 up to mid-motor spec. That's why I was seeing the IFS in the front end, and that's why there's no shock tower, front shock tower specifically, included in this kit. That's why the standard one's still on this car, and we got shock tower, shock life going on here. I was wondering that when I did the unboxing. It was kind of throwing me for a loop, but now I understand why. I did a little more sort of research and thinking about it. But it is a nice car kit. It does look really nice. I do like it. And it's not a bad thing that I misinterpreted it. It's just that now I fully understand the purpose and why you would purchase one of these conversion kits. So it's actually a good thing still that you can use the mid-motor conversion kit to bring your rear-wheel drive, rear motor D5 up to mid-motor spec. See the mid-motor here? So this transmission, the rear transmission bulkhead area, is the same on the rear motor and the mid-motor car. It's just flipped. And in the mid-motor kit here, that's why I have in the box this piece. This is for the IFS suspension, the inboard suspension. That's to go right around here. And there are parts that do come with it. They do supply you with some extra pieces. I don't have the thing in this box. It's in the other box. But they do give you some screws and aluminum spacers and such things like this. And the spacers like that under the bumper. See them there, the black ones, the aluminum spacers. They give you a couple sets of those for the conversion, and that's also for the area I was just talking about, the shock mount area. So it is a good thing. So I just wanted to point that out first and foremost, that yes, if you have a rear motor D5, this conversion kit is ideal to bring your rear motored car up to mid-motor spec. So that is a good thing. And yes, so once I realized that, yeah, I will probably switch this conversion kit to a rear motored car to bring a rear motor up to mid-motor spec to improve it. Doing this on a mid-motor car is not bad. I just feel personally in my fleet, because I have a couple D5s, this kit is better utilized on a rear motor chassis versus the mid motor, because you can improve the rear motor that much by moving the motor to the mid and adding all the carbon as well. So it's kind of a get two birds stoned at once feature there. So that's pretty good. And yeah, so other than that, the other major thing that happens a lot with some conversion kits, there was no instructions whatsoever, no instruction manual, not even like a little sheet of where some things would go or what the sizes of screws or spacers were included. It was just a box of parts, and you'll see that in the unbox video. So there was no instructions available, and I don't know if they just weren't ready or they weren't sent out, or if they just didn't make it onto the website yet, but I know they're working on it, so hopefully soon we'll get some of those. There wasn't any build videos as far as I could find, so I built this pretty much off of a bunch of photos I found on the website and some on the Facebook page, and a couple from a few people who did actually purchased this already and had built their own versions. So I used mostly Instinct and photos, and this is common of a couple of the conversion kits out there where you have to build it by photos. And particularly because I was using a mid-motored car, I just had to understand, you know, why there was no front shock tower and how everything would mock up. And it pretty much mocks up the same, because the rear-motored car, there's only subtle differences between the rear motor and the mid-motored car. So that's that. Yeah, so you will have to download some photos to figure out a few things on how to bolt this together. I might do a build video when I take this one apart and do the rear motor and convert it up. I might actually do a build video on how to do it. So we'll see. It's in my thoughts anyway. So there's that. Now, aside from that, there are some parts on, if you use, for example, a mid-motor D5 to do this conversion, there will be some parts that you'll see shown in the photos on the website that don't exist on the mid-motored car. One of the major things is there's a part that goes down here, and it bolts down, and it allows you to bolt part of the motor mount to it. So you can see over here, see that screw hole right down there? Oops, on my camera screen. See that hole below the spur gear? Right here? That there is supposed to bolt to a plastic part that is on the rear motored car, and it sits right back there. But it's not a part on the mid motored car because the motor mount sits different. So, sorry, that part's on the rear motor car. It's not for the motor mount because the motor mount's back there. That's for part of the bulkhead and it's the upper deck part that has a piece that goes down and bolts to that for stability. That's what that is. Sorry, brain got a little confused there. So that's that. What's the other major thing? So if you have the mid-motored car, you won't have the IFS suspension, so you won't use the one plate here on the part from the D5. Eurofighter D1 that I showed earlier. You'll use pretty much all the stock front end hardware here. You won't change really anything because you don't get a shock tower. I think those were the only two parts. Oh, aside from those parts being on the RR and not on the mid-motored chassis, there's several parts that you'll be pulling off this car, pulling off the car that you won't reutilize when you rebuild the car, such as the gyro tray in the middle here, a couple of the middle spacers. There's one here, not all of them. They said the picture showed don't put one there, but you probably could if you wanted. The motor mount. The upper chassis decks, the lower chassis plate, the battery mounting. This part you'll change out. This part is from the original car. The shock tower you'll change. The rear arm pieces here you'll change. The rear ESC receiver tray you'll change. And is that it? Oh, front bumper pieces. The front bumpers you'll change. And servo deck there, you'll change that as well. So several parts will change out, and other parts will be become extras basically. But I'm gonna put this car back to standard MR life, and then I'll do a proper build video for the RR. So that's that. What's next on my note sheet that I wrote on the computer? Parts thing, right? Oh, okay. So when I went to build it, now we're into the more build notes. Those were the sort of overall notes, things that I wrote out. I think I covered all of those. Front bumper now. The front bumper body post holes here, the holes on this upper deck of the bumper. When I went to put the body post through these holes, they were a little tight. So the holes were just a little too small to get the body post through nicely. Like I was trying to get it through, and I was like almost shoving it, and it would barely go through. So I took my old trusty knife. All I did was I took this knife. The blade's not even in that good a shape, but I took the knife, just kind of scraped out a little bit couple passes, or 5 to 10 passes inside, trimmed out just enough material that the post was able to slide through nicely. So it wasn't even like a Herculean effort to fix that. It's just a small little thing I noticed, and so I passed that along because that would drive someone nuts. But yeah, they are trimmed. The tolerance is super duper tight, so you'll want to buzz that out either with a Dremel tool or with a just with the knife, and just kind of just scrape in there, basically like this. I just took the knife, see the hole there? I literally did this, doing around like 5-10 times, and that was that. I got them in, so I just wanted to note that in case anyone else runs into that issue. And when you're doing the rear arms here, the rear arms, when you change out those plates, see them there, just make sure to match the orientation of when you uninstall them and put the new ones on. I wasn't paying 100% attention, and I flip-flopped 2 of the arms. So the way I did it is there's a little notch there. There's that one little notch, and then match that up kind of to the notch that's on the standard arm piece. It's pretty simple to match up. Just do one plate at a time and life will be easy. I kind of did a couple at a time, and yeah, that wasn't the best idea. So, well, I might have to tighten those too. Anyways, yeah, just a note on that. Where it's next on my list. Plates orientation. I noticed this after the build. The suspension arms on the lower side here. After the build, see how we got some movement here? That was not a thing on the original chassis. The reason for this is this front end area here is a little longer than the standard plate, and I mean by like 2 millimeters. I did a measurement. It's like about 2 millimeters difference, I think, overall, or about side to side, maybe a mil or a mil quarter or something, or 0.75 mil or something like that. It's not too much, but it's enough that we've gained about an extra like millimeter here, it looks like, of space. So that's why I think there was some extra spacers included with the conversion kit, but I couldn't figure out why, and now I know. So there's that. And one other major thing I noticed, and this I even noticed in their photos as well, the rear shocks here. Try to get a nice shot of this, as I fixed it already, my little fix. You see how the bottom of the shock tower here is kind of flat along that area? Let me get my old screwdriver here. See this area here? This is flat. When this screw is in the default position here, in the middle position, the shock here touches and sits right on that bottom area there, and it doesn't allow for any movement. So the shock doesn't move like this, and it doesn't move side to side, and that, yeah, side to side, that causes a problem, because when you go to compress the suspension, you don't get any of this. You don't get any of this. It goes, it barely moves, and it's super stiff. So my quick fix was just install the screw and mount the shocks further outward, all the way outward, and it'll straighten up the shock, soften it up a little bit too, so it's also a good tuning thing. I was going to do it anyway, I think, but yeah, I noticed that. On the stock shock tower, this area has a slight curvature, and it's for that reason, so the shock does not hit the area. So the quick fix, just move the positioning to the outer position, and you're good to go. See? Outer position, all the movement. So that was another thing, and when I looked at the excuse me, when I looked at the photos online on the website, I could see it. The shock is like wedged against the shock tower. There's no clearance whatsoever. So just something they might have overlooked. But there's a few ways you can fix that other than the way I did it. But yep, that's one other major thing. And where are we now? Oh yes, and one other running thing. See the spur gear there? How she's moving freely under the movement of the wheels? Whee! Yes, when I installed the standard screws that come with the D5 for the spur gear mount, there's 4 of them. There's only, you see only 2 here, but it comes with 4. Those are, I believe they're M3 by 5 mil screws, I think, if my memory serves correct. Well, this might not be a thing with the RR car, I'm not sure, but I'll check later on. But the MR, I'm pretty sure they're 5 mil screws. When they're installed, you see how, let's see if I can get this here. See in the spur gear there, see how that screw, see there's a whole empty hole? See how that screw is positioned there? When it's installed, it's completely flush. See that? when I did the standard screws that come with the car, that screw was protruding about 1 millimeter, and it was enough. Let me get the camera thing going. It was enough that that motor mount holder, or the spur gear holder right there, when this would spin, it would come into contact with the motor mount plate here. So I changed the screws out, and I only could find 2 of them in my spare screw kit, to I believe the M3 by 4 millimeter. So it's enough to go through the spur gear, enough to screw into the motor, the spur gear holder, sit flush with the holder there at the very end, bottom out perfectly flush, and not touch the motor mount. So that was also a crucial thing that I changed out. I can't remember if that's going to be an issue on the RR. We'll find out when I do it. I'll keep those screws aside for that reason. But that's definitely something you'll want to change out and fix, because that'll just scrape up the motor mount. Like, you could run it like that and it'll grind itself out, but you'll grind out the motor mount, and nobody wants to do that, especially on a carbon motor mount. That's a more permanent fix, but that's kind of ugly. I don't want to scrape up my carbon like that. Yeah, so other than those little building notes, that pretty much completes the Constructor's Digest, because most of the other parts, besides the ones you're swapping out, the rest of the standard assemblies, rear bulkhead, the rest of the rear arms, the front arms, front suspension mounts, and the front bulkhead / shock tower assembly on the MR version, yeah, just pretty much bolts right on. And we can do it modular too. I did it modular. I took off the bottom chassis plate first, and then slowly dissected the front end first off the standard car, then the rear side, and then built it up like that way. And yeah, I took my time because I was trying to figure out what to do for most of the stuff, because of the no instructions provided. I'm pretty sure they'll fix that, or they'll have some sort of exploded view or something they'll load up on the website sooner or later. And yeah, other than that, it looks great. I like the way it looks, and I'm eager to see the performance, and at some point put the aluminum shocks on it so I can really like do attack mode and really see what it's about. But otherwise, it does look good, and I'm definitely gonna, I think, keep it in my fleet, and have to pick a body for it and all that stuff. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you've got one of these for the D5, whether you used an RR or an MR to make it. If you've got any of the other conversion kits by the Eurofighter team, which is now Drift Factory D1, I believe is their new company name, Drift Factory D1. And yeah, let me know if you got any of the other conversion kits by them for the GRK or YD2, how that's going. And otherwise, yeah, stay tuned for more stuff on this car in the future. And yes, we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Nezo, and peace out.